The small, unassuming town of Blackwood was nestled deep within the forest, surrounded by towering trees that seemed to whisper secrets to anyone who dared to listen. It was a place where the air always felt heavy, as though the weight of history pressed down on every blade of grass and cobblestone. Blackwood had its legends, of course, tales of witches, curses, and the occasional ghost, but most dismissed them as mere folklore. That was until Emily arrived. Emily was a young artist, drawn to the town by its eerie charm and the promise of solitude. She rented a dilapidated cottage on the outskirts of Blackwood, a place that had been vacant for decades. The locals avoided it, claiming it was cursed, but Emily saw beauty in its decay. She found inspiration in the cracked walls and overgrown garden, sketching scenes of shadowy figures and twisted trees in her notebook. Her first night in the cottage was uneventful, save for persistent creaking of the floorboards and the occasional hoot of an owl outside. But as the days passed, strange occurrences began to disrupt her peaceful routine. It started with faint whispers in the dead of night, soft voices calling her name from somewhere deep within the house. Then came the shadows. They danced along the walls, moving independently of any light source, their forms shifting and writhing like living creatures. Emily tried to rationalize it all. Perhaps she was simply imagining things, or maybe the stress of moving had taken a toll on her mind. But her skepticism began to waver when she discovered a hidden trapdoor beneath the rug in her living room. It was old and rusted, its hinges groaning in protest as she pried it open. Below was a narrow staircase leading into darkness. Armed with flashlight, Emily descended into what appeared to be an underground chamber. The air was damp and cold, carrying the faint scent of earth and decay. The room was small, lined with shelves filled with dusty jars and ancient books. In the center stood a pedestal, upon which rested a single object, a blackened mirror framed with intricate carvings. The mirror seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy, drawing Emily closer despite her mounting unease. As she reached out to touch it, her reflection shifted. It wasn't her face staring back. It was someone else's, a woman with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. Emily stumbled back, dropping her flashlight. The room plunged into darkness, but the mirror continued to glow faintly. The woman's voice echoed in the chamber, soft and melodic, yet laced with malice. "You found it," she said. "The devil's beloved." Emily scrambled to retrieve her flashlight, her heart pounding in her chest. When she turned it back on, the mirror was just that, a mirror. Her own reflection stared back at her, wide-eyed and pale. She returned upstairs, locking the trapdoor behind her and vowing never to open it again. But the mirror's presence lingered in her mind, its name repeating like a mantra. The devil's beloved. That night, Emily dreamed of fire and shadows. She saw the woman from the mirror, standing amidst a circle of hooded figures, chanting in an ancient tongue. The woman held the mirror high above her head, its surface swirling with darkness. As the chant reached its crescendo, a monstrous figure emerged from the shadows, a horned demon with glowing red eyes. Emily woke with a start, drenched in sweat. She tried to convince herself it was just a nightmare, but deep down, she knew better. Something had been awakened. Over the following days, Blackwood seemed to change. The townspeople grew distant, their eyes darting away whenever Emily passed by. Children whispered about seeing strange lights in the forest at night, and animals began to disappear without explanation. Emily spent hours researching the mirror in the local library, combing through dusty tomes and faded manuscripts. She learned that it had once belonged to a powerful sorceress named Lilith Blackwood, the town's namesake, who had been executed centuries ago for practicing dark magic. According to legend, Lilith had forged a pact with the devil himself, offering her soul in exchange for power and immortality. The mirror had been her most prized possession, said to contain a fragment of hell itself. The more Emily learned about Lilith Blackwood, the more she felt connected to her, as though some invisible thread bound their fates together. She began to sketch images of Lilith without realizing it, her hand moving as if guided by an unseen force. One evening, as Emily sat by her window staring into the forest, she saw something that made her blood run cold, a figure standing among the trees. It was tall and cloaked in shadow, its features obscured but its presence undeniable. It didn't move or make a sound, It simply watched. The figure appeared every night after that, always in the same spot. Emily tried to ignore it, but its gaze burned into her soul. She felt compelled to return to the trapdoor and confront whatever lay beneath. When she descended into the chamber again, she found a mirror glowing faintly despite the lack of light. This time, she didn't hesitate. She touched its surface and instantly felt herself pulled into another world. Emily found herself standing in a barren wasteland under a blood-red sky. The air was thick with ash and smoke, and the ground was littered with bones. In the distance stood Lilith Blackwood, her black robes billowing in an unseen wind. "You've come," Lilith said, her voice echoing like thunder. "I've been waiting." Emily tried to speak, but found herself unable to form words. Lilith stepped closer, her hollow eyes boring into Emily's soul. "You are my heir," she said, "the one chosen to carry on my legacy." Emily shook her head violently. "No," she managed to whisper. "I'm nothing like you." Lilith laughed, a sound that sent shivers down Emily's spine. "You cannot escape your destiny," she said. "The devil's beloved has chosen you." Suddenly, Emily felt herself being pulled back into reality. She woke on the floor of the chamber, gasping for breath. The mirror lay shattered beside her, its shards glowing faintly before fading into darkness. But Emily knew it wasn't over. The figure in the forest still watched her every night, and whispers followed her wherever she went. The townspeople avoided her entirely now, their fear palpable. One night, unable to bear it any longer, Emily ventured into the forest to confront the figure. As she approached, it stepped forward into the moonlight, and she saw its face. It was Lilith Blackwood. "You cannot run from me," Lilith said softly. "You are mine." Emily screamed as darkness enveloped her completely. Weeks later, Blackwood returned to its quiet routine, but Emily was never seen again. The townspeople whispered about her disappearance, but avoided speaking of it openly. In her abandoned cottage, sketches of Lilith Blackwood littered every surface, alongside one final drawing. Emily's face twisted into an eerie smile that mirrored Lilith's own. The devil's beloved had claimed another soul, and Blackwood would never be free from its curse.